Some very strange things are going on with Diddy's case. Let me explain to you why. Think about what happened with Ghislaine Maxwell. Who was the lead prosecutor? The same person that when Epstein was being held accountable was the same lead prosecutor that is now with Diddy. This person's been the lead prosecutor for all three of them. What do you think is going to happen with Diddy? Is Diddy going to be O.J. Simpson 2.0? You know, he's going to go free and nothing's going to happen to him? Slap on it. Well, we couldn't find anything so far when we're looking at the case with Cassie Ventura. What do we know? We know the fact that he hit her. We've seen the videos. We know the fact that the freak-offs were taking place, that he was hiring people from Craigslist, that he was paying them $1,500 to $6,000, depending on how well of a job they were doing performing with her. She would have to do some really nasty things, drink, urine, all these weird things that they have in the documentation. He would put a mask on, so when the Craigslist person would show up, they didn't know who he was. She would put a wig on. His nickname was Frank Black, and her nickname was Jackie Star. All this stuff we know already. But then you see text messages. I can't wait for the next freak off. I can't wait to have your child. I can't live my life without you. Is this leading to this guy being innocent? All of this stuff we got going on here right now. Or maybe he pissed off the wrong person. Maybe he had this incredible protection from the top from some very, very powerful people that maybe he offended. Who knows? All of a sudden like this happens. We're gonna talk about that today. If you value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you want all these notes, stick around till the very end. I'm going to show you how to get them. All right, so let's get right into it. Check this out. This guy Diddy, when you look at his net worth, 2022, he's a billionaire. Oh, we hear it. We see it all over the place. Today, net worth roughly $300 million, $400 million. His net worth, if you look at it, was a lot of spirits. 70% was spirits, $700 million. $50 million was private investments. Then you see $75 million cash. $100 million real estate and collectibles, $75 million catalog and intellectual property. Go to it right now. Only $150 million is spirits. He lost $550 million there. Cash is lower, and a bunch of other things are lower there. So what happened during that time when you think about his net worth? By the way, when you compare him to some other people net worth-wise with Jay-Z, Dre, Diddy, and Kanye, this is what it looks like. Blue is Dre, orange is Jay-Z, green is Diddy, and purple is Kanye. Look what happened here. So Jay-Z keeps climbing. In 2011, he was roughly $450. Today he's $2.5 billion. Dre goes from where he was at $150 million at the time. He's worth roughly $980 million today. Diddy goes from $450, same place, to $1 billion, down to $300 million. And then Kanye goes from wherever he was. You look at the report today, you'll either see $300 million or $2.77 billion, depending on who's doing the audits. Forbes says $300 million. Okay, so let's go look at the Ciroc deal, what happened. So Diddy in 2007 does the Ciroc deal, which is a partnership with Diageo to revive Ciroc vodka, taking a 50-50 profit sharing role rather than the standard endorsement. As brand manager and CMO, he elevated the brand from 40,000 to over 2 million cases a year, making it a premium product. Now keep in mind, if you don't know who Diageo is, Diageo owns everybody. Johnny Walker, Crown Royal, Smirnoff, Kettle One, Don Julio, Casamigos, Captain Morgan, Bailey Irish Cream, Guinness. They own all these companies. So Ciroc, hey, this is big. We're bringing Diddy in. He's going to take it from 40,000 to 2 million. Profitable. This is great. Let's make some money together. 2013, De Leon Tequila co-ownership. Diddy and Diageo jointly acquired De Leon Tequila, making it a deeper investment relationship. May of 2023, Diddy sues Diageo. Diddy filed a lawsuit accusing Diageo of neglecting the De Leon brand, racial discrimination, claiming they marketed it as an urban product and failed to treat him as a true business partner. Then in January 2024, they settled out of court. Diageo and Diego settled the dispute out of court. While details still remain sealed, the settlement marked the end of their business relationship. So this is from 2007 till 2024, 17 years. Could they have protected him? I don't know. Their CEO currently today is Deborah Ann Crew. She was a former intelligence officer in the military. Once intelligence officer, forever you're an intelligence officer. Who knows what happened? We don't know the relationship. We're not going to make any accusations. All we know is, could this have been a protection where they were at the parties and they knew things that were taking place and are like, wait, what do you want to do to us? No problem. Boom, drop the bomb. I don't know. All I'm saying is the timing is kind of strange. Maybe even they wanted to kind of be like, look, we know what's about to be dropped on this guy. We want to have nothing to do with you. We're out. Here's some money. You stay quiet. We'll pay you, but we want to get out of here. The only thing that the timing's kind of crazy is January 2024, they settle. 2 months later, remember what we're sitting there doing and minding our own business? and you hear, March of 2024, the feds are raiding Diddy's Miami home and his LA home. For what? What are they trying to get? And you saw them pulling out all these boxes. What's going on over here? Federal agents raided his Miami and LA home, seizing 90 terabytes of digital data. What are you taking? Bunch of letters he wrote? What do you think they're getting there, right? Multiple unregistered firearms, over 1,000 bottles of lubricant, allegedly linked to coerced sex events. His associate, Brandon Paul, was arrested at a Miami airport, and Diddy's jet was tracked to Antigua, though he remained in the US. We all remember this. This is nothing new. May of 2024, guess what footage is released? Cassie Ventura's footage. How long have you been having it, CNN? Since 2016. You haven't released it till now? No. Who made the phone call to say release it now? Who was kind of like, we're done with this guy. You're not back. You're threatened to say this. Release the footage, right? So they released the footage. He comes out, issues an apology, while his lawyers accuse the government of leaking the tape. It was later admitted as evidence in his trial. Again, January deal, March is raiding his house, Miami and LA. May, here's a video being dropped from CNN, even though they've been sitting on it for 8 years. September 2024, book is released, Kim's Lost Words, which, by the way, there's a lot of speculation with this thing here, so whatever I'm reading you is not necessarily 100%. It is there, it is not there. The alias they use on who wrote the book is Shanti Millwood, which is an alias for Tupac, which is kind of weird. Why would you use that? This book appeared on Amazon, allegedly written by Kim Porter, accused Diddy of abuse, misconduct with minors. Porter's children denounced it as fake. Investigators revealed the real author was Chris Todd, who claimed he compiled the book from a mysterious flash drive. Amazon removed the book a month later in October. So September last year was a rough year for him because that's when the lawsuit comes out and he's arrested and indicted on federal charges, racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation for prostitution. The indictment claimed he ran a criminal enterprise from 2008 to 2024. He pleaded not guilty and remained jailed at MDC Brooklyn, where his bail offers was up to $50 million, was rejected. Then all of a sudden, October, wave of lawsuits come out, okay? Attorney Tony Busby filed numerous lawsuits against Diddy with over 120 cases. Planned allegations span sexual abuse, drugging, coercion, often tied to industry events. Some suits implicate third parties, including Marriott International, for allegedly enabling the abuse. Like, you allowed for this to happen and you knew it was taking place. Then it comes to today, May of 2025, the trial begins. Okay, so what is he being prosecuted for? You got charges for racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, and transportation for prostitution. That's what's taking place right now. What is he not being prosecuted for that he's been allegedly accused of doing over the years? For example, sexual abuse of minors ages 9 to 17 in the 90s, 2000 civil suits. You know what happened? Likely barred by statute of limitations or lacked sufficient criminal evidence. Gone. Murder, blackmail, and surveillance claims, Kim Porter, drive leaks, highly speculative with no verified forensics or corroborating evidence. Gone. Arson, alleged car bombing of Kid Cudi's vehicles, alleged by Cassie but not supported by public documentation or prosecutable evidence. Gone. Civil allegations from 120 accusers, many told unverified and not investigated fully. Some may still be under review, but right now we only know about 4. So this is the one part that we got to be thinking about, because a lead prosecutor can determine whether your crime is going to be bigger or less, more scrutinized, and people are going to be looking at everything, or less. I mean, if you think about President Trump, right, in New York, you have the case that came out with Stormy Daniels, hush money, hey, that could have been civil. Whatever the number was, $125,000. Didn't need to be criminal. He's a convicted felon, but the guy that was a lead prosecutor was a guy named Matthew Colangelo, and guess who's the one that appointed him? DA Alvin Bragg. And who is Alvin Bragg? You think Alvin Bragg loves Trump? No, they wanted to make him a convicted felon to just kind of destroy him. In this case, is the complete opposite who the lead prosecutor is for Diddy. It used to be Damian Williams, who was the lead prosecutor until he resigned in December of 2024. Damian Williams is a pretty connected guy. He's been a lead prosecutor on a lot of different things. You ready? Epstein, you got Diddy, you got Ghislaine Maxwell, and many others. He was appointed by President Biden. He used to work, had a relations with the Soros family. So he steps away in December of 2024 for Diddy. Why would he step away? And you know who replaces him as a lead prosecutor? Maureen Comey. You know who Maureen Comey is? She is James Comey, the former director of FBI that put the 8647 on his Instagram. She is his daughter. That is now the lead prosecutor going against Diddy. Do you think Diddy's going to end up being guilty? Who knows? We'll find out if she's going to go after him hard or not. Now, to be fair, Damian Williams and Maureen Comey both were the prosecutors, going against Sam Bankman-Fried, and decided to kind of not look at the donations that he made. I think it was the second biggest for Democrats, and he gave a bunch of Republicans as well. He was trying to buy everybody out during that time. And this comes down to one other thing with Maureen Comey, to just kind of give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. She was a lead prosecutor going against Robert Hayden. Robert Hayden was a gynecologist who was accused of taking advantage of clients that were coming in. And one of them was Andrew Yang's wife, if I'm not mistaken. He was doing a lot of weird things. He went away 20 years in jail. So I don't want to put it in here and say Maureen Comey's not going to go after certain people. She has. But in this case, Ghislaine, Epstein, Diddy, kind of weird. They're kind of weird. Bribery, reputation of what they did. A little weird that the same person is a lead prosecutor on those three different people. So this was kind of weird with Diddy, with certain patterns on certain people in his life. I had Suge Knight on. Well, around the same time while this is going on, 6, 7, 8 months ago. And he says, look, no man wakes up one day and learns how to do this kind of stuff. What do you mean no man wakes up one day? Somebody had to teach you on how to bribe and do this and hold people hostage and da-da-da-da-da. Kind of weird. And then Clive Davis's name comes up. And in Clive Davis, apparently, when you look at this in the early 70s, federal authorities started investigating whether major records, including Columbia Records, division of CBS, were directly or indirectly involved in a drug-fueled payola scheme. These were illegal arrangements where drugs or money were allegedly used to bribe radio DJs and stations to give preferential airplay to certain artists. You know who was the leading guy for Columbia at the time? A guy named Clive Davis in 1973, a rising executive and then president of Columbia Records, fired by CBS in 1973. The official reason cited the misuse of company funds. He was accused of charging personal expense, including lavish bar mitzvah costs for his son, to the company. I mean, obviously that's not good, but if you look at the charts, you hear them using heroin and other drugs to bribe DJs. Even his former EA testified and gave statements that Clive Davis authorized payola practices, further damaging his reputation. So what does Clive Davis do? Starts his own company called Arista Records in 1974. Now, while he's going through, the CBS sues him to recover some of the funds. Davis was not indicted or charged with any crime, including the broader allegation on payola or drug-related misconduct. So the relationship between Clive Davis and Diddy is interesting, because when Diddy's 23 years old, he's making a name for himself. Clive gave him $15 million to start Bad Boy Records. And then later on, they did even a bigger deal where Clive gave him $50 million advance on future earnings. This is 5 years later in 1998. $6 million upfront payment, $700,000 annual salary, and a state-of-the-art recording studio. We're talking $2 million recording studio. This is when he went after Faith Evans. He got Biggie in the early 90s. This is when it started. But there's a relationship with Clive. And it's interesting because Clive later on, they say something may have happened here, because Suge said Clive taught him the bad habits. And later on, Clive comes out and says the following. Yes, record mogul Clive Davis has identified as being bisexual. He publicly revealed in his memoir, this is not allegedly, he said it, the soundtrack of my life. At the age of 80, he also discussed in an interview with Katie Couric, expressing the hope that his coming out would contribute to greater understanding of bisexuality. It's Clive Davis. And on top of that, very weird, the principal of the high school that Diddy went to school to. This is like completely crazy. In 1987, Reverend Bernard Lynch and brother Timothy Brady were accused of sexually abusing students at Mount St. Michael Academy in Bronx, New York. While this was happening, the allegations involved the molestation of 3 boys. While the timing overlaps Diddy enrollment at school, there is no public record or indication that he was among the victims, and no one knows the 3 boys' names. So Timothy Brady goes and gets convicted, goes to jail. He's in prison. But when he comes out, he goes back and is reassigned by Marist Brothers to a Catholic high school in Chicago, where he worked from 1993 to 2005, 12 more years after you know what he's doing to boys. I mean, this makes a lot of sense, right? And then Reverend Bernard Lynch was indicted in 98, stood trial in 89 on the abuse of former student. He was acquitted of all charges. Lynch has maintained that his prosecution was a result of a witch hunt due to his AIDS ministry and advocacy for LGBTQ rights. In 2019, Lynch faced a new civil lawsuit allegedly sexual abuse of a 16-year-old student at Mount St. Michael Academy during 1978 and 79. The lawsuit was dropped in 2021. So who knows? Some are saying maybe one of those 3 boys could have been Diddy, and maybe he picked up some of those habits there. Chances of that, less than 5%. But these are all very weird things that are kind of coming together. This next one here, don't let your kids listen to this next part. I mean, at this point, if you've let your kids listen to the whole thing, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. But this next part, maybe you say earmuffs or pause, stop the video, step away, put the So this guy goes to Macy's one day, Diddy, with his crew. While he's at Macy's, the plaintiff claims that Diddy, accompanied by 3 armed bodyguards, enters the stockroom. This is 08. This isn't too long ago. This is 17 years ago. He was 38 years old at the time. Goes in the stockroom, and the plaintiff alleges that he was struck, possible pistol whipped, and threatened with death by the bodyguards. Combs then allegedly forced him to perform oral on him, referring to as echo, and making derogatory comments during the assault. Do you know what ends up happening afterwards? You may never go to Macy's ever again. Okay, you ready? Aftermath, Macy's response. Following the incidents, Combs purportedly took Sean John merchandise from the stockroom and distributed it to shoppers on the sales floor. The plaintiff reported assault to Macy's security, but asserts that no action was taken. He further alleges that approximately 3 weeks later, Macy's CEO Terry Lundgren pressured Echo executive to terminate his employment to safeguard a multi-million-dollar deal Macy's had with Sean John. Subsequently, he was fired and lost his company-provided housing. I don't know if this is a true story or not, but it's written about all over the place. You're not gonna have a hard time finding this. If a person comes out and says, this person did this to me, one person comes out, they're getting after somebody. 2, 3, all of these stories in different, this person's got issues in his heart. And I'm talking about Diddy. The guy's got problems, I mean, this doesn't happen accidentally. And Diddy's father was tied to the mob back in the days, working with Frank Lucas. You ever seen the movie American Gangster? Frank Lucas, the one that was selling the Blue Magic, I think what it was called. And they claimed that he was an FBI informant, that he was leaking information. And who knows what the hell was going on. But that's the lineage. So I don't know what's gonna happen. Here's what I could tell you. If it goes with the pattern that we've seen with Ghislaine, with Epstein, with Diddy, either Diddy's gonna commit suicide, either he's going to be hiding somewhere that we won't hear about for many, many years, or he's gonna be O.J. Simpson and he'll be released and said, I told you I was as innocent. I told you nothing happened. I told you I was this. Or he's gonna go to jail and spend the rest of his life in jail. Not likely, because he has access to a lot of information on a lot of people that make a lot of money for people in Hollywood. Do they want those people to be gone? I don't know. With one of those guys that makes a lot of money for a lot of people is Justin Bieber, to the point that their lawyer has to respond to it and say, hey, although Justin is not among Sean Combs' victims, because it's always been said, there's been some very strange videos that we've seen, these are individuals who were genuinely harmed by him. Shifting focus away from the reality detracts from the justice these victims rightfully deserve. While this is taking place, it's pretty wild. Bieber, 15 years old, you spend a couple days with him? It's kind of weird. Looks at the Lambo. What do you think about the Lambo? Hey, we do some things that nobody needs to know about. It's a lot of weird things. So, I don't know. I ran into him, Diddy, after I made a few videos, and we looked at each other like this for a couple minutes at a Miami Heat game. He was there with a girl, and it was an interesting exchange. Made a lot of accusations, not accusations. I've had, Greg Kading, a lot of people I've had on, because I'm convinced, that's my opinion. I believe he's tied to Tupac and a lot of other people. Hopefully there will be justice, okay? Hopefully there will be justice. Whatever that is, there will be justice, because a lot of people were hurt by this guy here. If you want the research, here are all the notes that we have. All you have to do is download the app Manet, go to PVD Entrepreneur Circle. I'm putting a lot of these notes over there that anybody can have access to. You can go there, get registered, and you can communicate there as well. Put your opinion. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? You guys can do that. But all these notes will be there. And if you enjoyed this interview, you've never seen my conversation with Suge Knight, it's very revealing when he says this, while all this stuff is not being talked about months after he said this while he was in jail. If you've never seen that, click here to watch. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.